Hi guys, hope you're doing good, and today I'm going to be doing my Slayer discography ranking. Slayer are one of my favourite bands of all time, massively influential on me and my guitar playing, and massively influential in getting me into more extreme metal as well. So this has been in the works for quite a while, this video. So today I'm going to be ranking all 11 studio albums and minus Haunting the Chapel EP, and I also won't be including the Undisputed Attitude album because that's more of a covers album and doesn't count to me as a studio album, so I've left that one off. But all the other 11 albums I will be ranking today. I've been listening to these albums over the last week just so then I was sure that I had the ranking exactly where I wanted it, and I'm pretty happy with the list where all the albums are. And this is just going to be my opinion, so it's going to be subjective what other people think, but it is what it is. So yeah, without any further ado, before we get into the actual ranking, if you're new and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing for more rock and metal music and guitar based content. Please like and share with anyone who you think might be interested, and all comments and feedback is massively appreciated. And a massive thanks to everyone for all your support and for everyone who's subscribed already. I really appreciate it. Now, without any further ado, let's just get straight into the ranking. Coming in at number 11 and last, will always be last, and that is 1998's Diablos in Musica. And this, to be honest, out of all the Slayer albums, including Undisputed Attitude actually, this is the only Slayer album that I actually don't like. And yeah, I just really don't get on with this album. I listened to it because I recently, a couple of months ago, did a video with Hector, the chill dude on the couch. We were talking about this album. Is it that bad? And my verdict was yes, it is that bad. Because it's just too different for a Slayer album. It's a bit alternative. It's got that nu metal sound, and it's just not for me, to be honest. They just really shouldn't have changed their sound up that much. It just didn't fit right. The songs just felt really of that time, and I just don't think it's a good album at all, to be honest. There are some songs that I do like the first song, Bitter Peace, and Perversions of Pain, In the Name of God, Desire, Scrum. I think those songs are probably the best songs on the album. The rest of it, especially like Stain of Mind and Love to Hate, are just not very good songs at all. I just don't like it, and I'll probably never buy this album, to be honest. Coming in at number 10, I have got the follow-up to Diablos in Musica, God Hates Us All, from 2001, and this was the album last to feature Paul Bostaph until Repentless, and this one's a lot better. This is like a little bit, still has that sort of nu metal sound a little bit, but it's a little more on the thrash metal, groove metal side, and overall it's just a much better album, to be honest. I really love the aggression on this album. It's Slayer, showing their full aggression on this album, and it's just a really good album. I think it's got some really fantastic standout songs like Disciple and Warzone, Payback, of course. I also really like Seven Faces, God Sends Death, Here Comes the Pain, really cool kind of groovy, slowed down, brutal song. So in the middle it goes a bit weird. You've got Threshold, you've got Exile, and Cast Down, which are a bit more on the nu metal side, but then But yeah, it starts and ends really strong, this album, and I nearly had it above this, but you know, as I was going through, it just ended up at number 10. But nothing against the album because it's really, really great. Number 9, I've got their last ever album, Repentless. And yeah, this one featured Paul Bostaph on the drums again, and the only one to feature Gary Holt after the late Jeff Hanneman passed away. And yeah, this is a really good way to end for Slayer. It's a solid album. It's got some nice thrashy, groovy moments throughout. There is one song that was written by Jeff Hanneman, mostly written by Kerry King, and I think he did a pretty decent job with it, to be honest. There's some really great songs. Obviously, like the title track, Repentless, is an amazing song to open. Then it goes into Take Control, Vices, Cast the First Stone. They're all really, really good songs. You Against You I really like because Gary Holt does an awesome ripping solo on that song. It's fantastic. Then there's a couple of songs in the middle that are a bit more forgettable, like When the Stillness Comes, Chasing Death, Implode, Atrocity Vendor. They're just a little bit less memorable for me, but to be fair, I think it's a really solid album. And yeah, I think 9th is about right for it, to be honest. And at number 8, I have got the one preceding it, Well Painted Blood. And again, it's very close between like 10th spot and 7th spot, I'd say. I could do this again and they'd be in a different order. This album, I believe, is as close to old school Slayer as you're going to get for their new material. I think it's just a really solid, thrashy, sort of groovy style album. I think it's just a little bit better than Repentless, and it's sort of on par with the one I'm going to talk about next. Yeah. However, the thing with this, the reason why it's as low as this is because I just don't go back to it as much. I don't know why. It's one that I really enjoy when I listen to it, but then I don't listen to it for ages, and then kind of wonder why I've not listened to it for so long. But there is some really good stuff on here, like the title track, Unit 731, Snuff, Hate Worldwide, Human Strain, pretty good, Psychopathy Red as well, pretty decent. So, you know, it's a pretty good album. Probably I should revisit it a bit more. It might move up a bit more if I did. And of course, this is the last album to feature Jeff and Dave Lombardo. At number 7, I've got Christ Illusion from 2006. And this possibly is my favourite of the newest Slayer. I haven't actually listened to it that much. I've only listened to it a couple of times. I don't own it, obviously. It's one that I definitely would like to own because I think it's really great. The 2 times I've heard it so far, I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it's fair to put it at number 7, slap bang in the middle, because then there's leverage for it to go either up or down. But yeah, I think it's a really solid album, another really, really good album by Slayer. And it combines stuff from God Hates Us All with like an old school Slayer vibe, and it just worked really, really well. It had a really heavy sound, really heavy tone, and yeah, some really, really enjoyable songs. Like the first couple of songs, Flesh Storm, Catalyst, Skeleton Christ, Jihad, which is quite a famous song from this album, Catatonic I thought was really good, Black Serenade, Cult as well. Really good album, really good solid album. And of course this one features Dave Lombardo after he returned to the band, and yeah, definitely one that I would like to get in the future. Just missing out on the top 5, I have got their debut album Show No Mercy from 1983, and again, this is another one I don't own, but I thought this was a really great debut album. it doesn't really have that Slayer sound yet. This one, it's got a very like heavy metal inspired sound, that really like old school metal with a bit of like punk in there. I thought it was really enjoyable. It's got some really nice melodies throughout. I think this is the only Slayer album that's actually got melody in it. It's got some really cool solos that I thought fit quite well. Normally with Slayer the guitar solos are a bit hit or miss, but I think it works quite well here. The only downer on the album that I've got is that Tom Araya really liked to do his high scream vocals on here, like he's Rob Halford, and I just wasn't really into that too much. But majority of the album was really good. I really liked the first song, Evil Has No Boundaries, The Antichrist, Die by the Sword, Black Magic is one that they always used to play live. The Final Command, decent. Tormentor, Show No Mercy, really solid album. And yeah, very good debut, definitely, by the band. Moving into the top 5 now, and in 5th place I've got Hell Awaits from '85, their second album. Musically, this is a massive step up from Show No Mercy. It's definitely got more that old school Slayer sound, that aggression, the franticness, the ferocity, and yeah, it's more of the traditional Slayer sound. But for me, the production is just not that good on this album. It just really lets it down, and that's why I originally had it quite low, but since I listened to it again, it went up a couple of places because, you know, the songwriting, the musicality on it is just awesome, but it's just the really poor production that really lets it down. You know, the guitar tone is just so quiet compared to everything else. The bass just feels too high in the mix for me, and you can barely hear the guitar. But when I listen to it again, I just, you know, something kind of spoke to me when I was listening to it, and I really enjoyed it actually. Obviously you got the title song, Kill Again, At Dawn They Sleep, Necrophiliac was just absolutely insane, Crypts of Eternity, another really good one. Really solid album, really awesome album by Slayer, and yeah, one that definitely gone up, but if the production was better, I think it would be even higher. It might even be in the top 3, but it is what it is. Now, at number 4, just missing out on the top 3, I've got 1988's South of Heaven. Now, this is a bit more of a mature sound. It's a bit slowed down, but don't let that fool you. This is still an awesome thrash metal album. It's got a bit of groove in there. I remember someone saying that this is like almost like the predecessor to groove metal, and I guess they are kind of right. It's got some really good songs on it though. Obviously the title track again, Silent Scream, Behind the Crooked Cross is one that I've always really enjoyed, same as Mandatory Suicide. Ghosts of War is really good. Spill the Blood, the ending song, is just an awesome, epic song. The only song I wasn't a massive fan of was Distant Aggressor, but that's because it's a Judas Priest cover, and yeah, don't like Judas Priest, but whatever. Apart from that, I think it's a really good album, really great production on it as well. Tom Araya sounds fantastic on it, the guitar tone is really awesome as well, and yeah, fantastic album. Just entering the top 3, some people might think this is a bit high, and it might be recency bias, but I just really love this album, and it's Divine Intervention. This is the first album with Paul Bostaph as well on drums, and I just really love this album. It just sounds like a really great continuation from Seasons in the Abyss. It's got some real nice grooves in it, it's quite punky at times as well, very fast and aggressive as well. It's just a really consistent album, and you know, you could say it's a bit recency biased, but it's an album that I've been going back to so much recently, and you know, I just thought it has to be this high. It starts off with Killing Fields, which is fantastic. Then it goes into Sex, Murder, Art. Then Fictional Reality, Ditto Head, Divine Intervention is just a really cool song. SS3 is really good. Serenity and Murder is pretty cool. The last song, Mind Control, is pretty insane. So yeah, this is just an album that I really like, and has gone up massively since I first brought it, but you know, it is what it is. I just really enjoy that album. At number 2, I've got what I just said, the original Seasons in the Abyss, and this is just an absolute stone cold classic. This is like literally all what they've been building up to with South of Heaven and aforementioned number 1 album, and they just put it all into this album, and it's just fantastic. It's just an absolute stone cold classic, and this would be the album that I would recommend a lot of people to start with if you've not listened to Slayer. This is a perfect album from start to finish. War Ensemble, Blood Red, Spirit in Black, Expendable Youth, Dead Skin Mask, Skeletons of Society, Temptations, and the epic Seasons in the Abyss. Just an absolute stone cold classic, metal classic, one of the best metal albums ever, one of the best thrash metal albums ever. Just a fantastic album. And my number 1, you guessed it, Rain in Blood. For me, this album is just absolute perfection. The best album by Slayer. It'll always be my favourite. As good as Seasons in the Abyss is, this album for me is just a cut above. It literally is like Hell Awaits, but taken up to 12. Maxed out to 12 and beyond. It is just so unbelievably fast and frantic. For me, I think this is the start of death metal. Doesn't matter what anyone says, but that early death metal sound, to me, it just sounds like this, but with more aggressive style vocals. And yeah, this album, just from start to finish, is an absolute classic. One of the best thrash metal albums ever. Starts off with the classic Angel of Death, going into Piece by Piece, Necrophobic, Altar of Sacrifice, which is awesome, Jesus Saves, Criminally Insane is another one of my favourites, Reborn is really good as well, Epidemic, Postmortem, and then goes into Rain in Blood, which is just fantastic. And yeah, my version has got a couple of extra bonus tracks at the end. And yeah, for me, this is one of the best thrash metal albums ever. The best Slayer album, personally, I think it's my favourite and always will be. It's just a 10 out of 10, flawless, fantastic, awesome album. So that was my Slayer ranking for now. There is a possibility that it might change, but I don't think it will change by a lot. And yeah, I would love to know what you thought of my ranking, and also what is your Slayer ranking down below. I'd love to know in the comments whether you would even include Undisputed Attitude as well. That'd be really interesting to know all your thoughts on that. And yeah, if you got this far, thanks ever so much for watching, and until the next time, keep Slayer!